Tina Swithin. Notice one mom's battle. She presents herself as a champion for distressed parents, navigating custody battles. Behind the facade lies a troubling truth. Swithin has built a platform on the premise of protecting children caught in the crossfire of divorce. However, her methods raise questions about her true intentions. While Swithin positions herself as an educator, she spreads dangerous misinformation about parental alienation, dismissing it as a myth and saying that it is simply a tool for parents to manipulate the legal system. Her tactics are divisive and destructive. She preys on vulnerable parents, vulnerable children who are being abused, and exacerbates conflicts rather than trying to resolve them. Media appearances, too, paint a distorted picture of family dynamics, often demonizing one parent while portraying the other as a victim or a protective parent. Her online behavior is just as troubling. Tina publicly smears the reputations of other professionals in the parental alienation sphere, professionals who challenge her views. She resorts to character assassination in order to silence dissenters, including me. Behind the facade of one mom's battle lies a very dark reality. It's time to question the motives of those who claim to advocate for families while sowing the seeds of discord and distrust. She pushes false narratives and stories about families that have faced parental alienation in the media and the news, in order to build her own brand, make money, and to pass legislation that will actually harm alienated kids. I've spoken to another targeted parent who was going to get his kids, so they were going to change custody and everything and do reunification program and reunification therapy. And one mom's battle actually showed up at the courthouse to make this huge deal out of it. It just traumatized the kids. They had all this media there taking pictures and videos and then screaming and yelling and fighting. She posts all these videos and pictures and she posts all about it on her website. It's bad enough that families are in family court, having the government decide what's best for their family. But add in this 50-year-old woman who has nothing better to do with her time than to spread false information. The fact that this 50-year-old woman has been contacting underage kids, minors, to try to help them smear their parent online, smear their parent's reputation, talk about their abuse, alleged or real, online to millions of strangers, and nobody comes after her. Nobody comes after her. Until now, a targeted father, Christopher Ambrose, is suing Tina Swithin for defamation in a $1 million lawsuit. Tonight, we're breaking down this defamation lawsuit. Join me tonight. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Anti-Alienation Project. How's everybody doing? Tell me where you're coming from in the chat. I'm doing great. I just went for a run earlier today, and it's beautiful weather outside. And I know that this news about this defamation lawsuit is a pleasant surprise to a lot of us, and not because we want to see anyone suffer, but because we want the truth to be exposed. And that's exactly what I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to expose the truth, and I am going to do it, and it's going to be hard because it's not pleasant to listen to. So buckle in, grab a snack, grab some water, because it might be a long live stream. Now, before I start, I need to say that everything I'm saying is alleged. The whole video, alleged. So I'm going to be playing some comments as I go, as I see them, the comments I think that are especially relevant, but I do see all of your comments and I want to say thank you very much. Please, please, please help me out by liking this video, sharing the video, leaving a comment. I've already gotten some downvotes on this video from people on the other side who are desperate to contain this information from being released. So please help me out and like this video in particular. So I'm just going to get right back. I'm just going to get right into it. And thank you so much for being here. I want to say that while we were speaking about one case tonight, one father tonight. I have spoken to dozens of parents behind the scenes whose lives, whose relationship with their children have been destroyed because of their ex, yes, but also because of Tina Swithin, aka One Mom's Battle. And enough is enough. I have been making videos about her, exposing her, and reacting and responding to her for 2 years now. I was the first one to do it. First one to do it on YouTube. Nobody else was doing it. And I was wondering why no one else was talking about her. And now we have a brave soul, a very, very brave soul who is going to actually enter a lawsuit, $1 million lawsuit for defamation against One Mom's Battle, Tina Swithin. And let me assure you, you might think this is dark already. If you've watched my other videos on Tina Swithin, you might think that she is outrageous. You might have your own opinions on what she does and how she does it. It's about to get a lot more depraved. Your eyes are going to be opened, and hopefully you're going to realize just how despicable this has become. Again, my opinions, these are my opinions, and everything is alleged. So I want to paint a picture for you. If you could do me the favor of just closing your eyes or just relaxing for a minute and picture this. Imagine waking up, checking your phone, and discovering that overnight you have become the internet's newest villain. Thousands of strangers now think you're a monster, thanks to a blog written by someone you've never met. Congratulations, you've officially gone viral, not for dancing on TikTok, not for a career achievement, but for being accused of horrific crimes that you did not commit. That's what happened to one father, Christopher Ambrose. And spoiler alert, he's not alone. Today, we are talking about how one woman, Tina Swithin, has made it her side hustle to smear parents online, to break families apart. In today's episode, we are going to dive into the world of online harassment, false allegations, and reputational dumpster fires. Our focus is one father, Christopher Ambrose, a private citizen who has been publicly targeted by Tina Swithin over the past 2 years. This case is a striking example of how false information can spread very fast online and reputations can be destroyed. But not only that, a parent-child bond can be completely annihilated. Mr. Ambrose filed his complaint against Tina Swithin on August 26th of this year, 2025, in the U.S. District Court of Connecticut. He is asking for $1 million in damages. Yes, $1 million. And as his complaint bluntly puts it, this persistence, despite introvertible evidence, is powerful proof of actual malice and has compounded the lasting harm to the plaintiff's reputation and emotional well-being. And I want to hear your opinion by the end of this video. If you think that he deserves to win this lawsuit, if you think that actual malice has been done. And my opinion right off the bat, 100%. This father deserves $1 million and more. Translation, she knew the allegations were fake and she kept posting about me, and now my life is ruined. Today, we are breaking down what happened in this case, the effects of the attacks, and later we are going to hear from a guest who has also faced Tina's harassment firsthand. So let's start with the key players. First, as we all know and probably don't love, Tina Swithin, otherwise known as One Mom's Battle, as I like to call her, One Mom's Destructive Battle. She is a social media influencer, a self-proclaimed advocate, a self-appointed expert in the intersection of narcissism and family court. I don't think I need to show you her picture, but the irony. And then we have the main player, Christopher Ambrose, targeted father. We also have his ex-wife, Karen Riordan. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but that's how I'm going to be pronouncing it. Karen Riordan, Ambrose's ex-wife, also Tina's client. Interesting. So those are the main players. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty with the names of the judges and anything like that. It's just not going to be part of this episode. But if you want to do your own research, you can look up that. So it all began with Tina Swithin publishing false, misleading, and defamatory statements about this father online. Tina went full keyboard warrior, destroying Ambrose's reputation and mental health, including horror story level accusations of sexual abuse, of embezzlement, and more. And then she doubled down on these claims by amplifying her own claims with other articles, like from someone named Frank Parlato Jr. Because why stop at one train wreck when you can have two? Now, intruding herself into family law cases and sabotaging court orders, this isn't new for Tina Swithin, but being called out, being held accountable for her actions, well, that certainly is new for her. And guys, I'm here for it. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you're here for it too. Like the video if you're here for it too. And I'm curious, how many of you have been personally affected by Tina Swithin? Let me know. So when Ambrose politely emailed Tina with actual proof, 2 official court documents that proved these allegations were false, did she remove her content? Nope. Did she correct her statements? No. She left the lies up for millions of people to read for over 2 years. That's not journalism. In my opinion, that's malice. And these were not small articles. Swithin's links reached over 250,000 people, generating dozens of comments, calling Ambrose a monster, calling him a psychopath. That's not a little blog. That's an online smear campaign with a built-in stadium audience. So we're actually going to read the document. Yes, her name is Karen. So we're going to read the document. And I want you to buckle up. If you've been through family court, if you've been through parental alienation in any way, this is going to be hard to digest. But this is so important because you need to know what's happening behind closed doors. Thanks to this father, Christopher Ambrose, we're about to find out just how dark it truly gets. So, here we go. Let me figure out the best way for me to do this. I'm going to start right here, but I need to make it a little bit bigger so that I can see it. Okay. Let's see if there's any way for me to make it bigger. Yeah, guys, you're not going to believe the stuff in here, or maybe you will if you've been through family court and it's gotten this ugly. Maybe you will. We'll see. Okay. I don't know why there's 2 of me, but there we go. Okay. So we're going to get into this document. Again, grab your drink, grab your snack. Okay. And I really want you to bear with me. It might be hard to read. I will try to add any levity that I can, but this is dark material. There we go. Perfect. Okay. I highlighted the parts I want to point out because this is like, let's see how many, it's a very long document. Yes. Let's not forget the kids who are being used as social media pawns. What will happen when they grow up, knowing they said terrible things about one of their parents that was spread all over social? Precisely why I'm doing this. Precisely. and why I'm not including the kids' names or photos, although their mother, Tina Swithin, is more than happy to do so and has already done so. So, as I mentioned, this is a lawsuit for $1 million, a defamation suit. And I've told you the key players, but let's just get into it. So the defendant, Tina Swithin, she presents herself as a family court expert and divorce coach, though she does not identify any educational or professional qualifications. In September 2023, like I mentioned, Swithin published an online article falsely accusing the father, Christopher Ambrose, of heinous acts, including sexually, emotionally, verbally abusing his children, isolating them, conspiring with others, etc. Swithin's article shows, this is important, that she was aware before publication that multiple Connecticut courts, hospitals, DCF, and law enforcement agencies had found Riordan, the ex-wife's, allegations false. She knew the allegations were false, and she made a blog post about all of it anyway, claiming it was true. Let me know what you think about that fact in the chat. Let me know what you think about just that one fact alone. So, on July 10th of this year, 2025, Ambrose, who I'm going to be referring to the dad as from this point on, Ambrose sent Swithin a cease and desist letter identifying specific statements in her article as false, defamatory, and misleading. The plaintiff explained that her publication subjected him to public ridicule, widespread reputational harm, and severe personal distress. Like I mentioned, Ambrose then provided Tina Swithin with 2 official court documents, including the 40-page divorce decree, showing that every allegation he identified had been investigated by law enforcement, CPS, and medical professionals, and found to be baseless. So he responds as any logical, healthy-minded person would, probably, and sends her a cease and desist along with the proof that these allegations are false. If I were receiving that information and I had made a blog post about somebody, I would quickly take the blog post down. I don't know about you. And I would apologize and leave it at that. But no. After receiving the cease and desist, Tina Swithin removed the article. So good on you there. But she expressly refused to retract her statements, acknowledge their falsity, or issue a correction. Instead, she threatened to publish further material, including a new interview with the plaintiff's daughter. I'm going to pause here and speak for a moment. I don't think I did my introduction. Hi, I'm Maddie, and the reason why I'm doing this is because I was one of these children. My mom manipulated me to reject my dad for 20 years, made me believe tons of false allegations like these kids were made to believe. I feared him, I was angry at him, and I rejected him. That's why I'm so passionate about this, because not only, allegedly, does Tina Swithin sabotage court cases, break up families, but she also exploits alienated children. If I had grown up in this age with TikTok and Tina Swithin and One Mom's Battle, I could have easily been exploited by her. That's why I'm so disturbed by her. So when she threatens to publish an interview with an underage child, it hits me really hard. I get really worked up about this in particular. And again, I'm not just highlighting Christopher Ambrose, this one father, and these particular children in their case, because I've spoken to dozens of parents whose kids Tina has videotaped and put on her TikTok, put on her YouTube, made money off of their children, while their children repeat the horror stories they've been made to believe by their pathological parent. I just spoke to a parent today whose child is in an alienation industry documentary, making heinous reports against him that are all untrue. And this is all to build Tina's business, in my opinion. This is all about the money. Sick. Let's keep going. I need to take a deep breath first, actually. Everything is alleged. But this is a court document. So she makes a threat. On July 17th, the father reminded Tina Swithin that she had yet to inform her 250,000 followers and the rest of the internet that her vicious, life-destroying published statements claiming he was a child sex predator were false. Tina said in response to that, quote, she considered the matter closed, end quote. So we're getting to the statement of facts, and this is going to talk about the downfall of their marriage and their divorce and Tina's involvement in that as well. Now, for those of you who have been through a high conflict divorce, a nasty custody dispute, this might hit hard. Please bear with me. Please bear with me. This needs to be brought to light. Please comment, please like, please share the video. The world needs to know about this. So, therapists started treating the older children during this time. And the mom, the ex-wife, Karen, she picked the therapist, actually. And the therapists were actually alarmed by Karen's deliberate efforts to turn the children against their father, even though they themselves described the father as attentive and loving. So the couple agreed that the marriage was broken. They decided to divorce, and in July 2019, Ambrose filed for divorce, seeking shared custody and an equitable financial division. The mother, Karen, did not respond. I'm going to call her Karen from now on. Did not respond to the filing. Instead, without notice, she removed the children from the marital residence, replaced their phones to prevent their father from contacting them, and concealed their location. I'm not saying this myself, but I'm saying that some people might consider that actual parental kidnapping. This is very similar to what my mom did. Actually, I was 9, and this is very similar. She did a bogus restraining order. She took us out of the house, took us to our grandparents, and none of us had phones. We were really small. It was a while ago. So she actually removed us from the marital home as well. My dad got home and no one was there. Very traumatic. If you're a parent who's gone through that, I am so sorry. If you're a child who's gone through this, I'm so sorry. So she removes the children and conceals their location. Almost immediately after Ambrose filed for divorce, Karen began making false allegations that he had mistreated the children. Could have seen that coming. It's a playbook. When those claims did not gain traction with authorities, she escalated to fabricating more allegations, including that he had sexually abused the children. I don't want this live stream to be shut down. That's why I'm doing that. However, no allegations of any kind had ever been made prior to Ambrose's filing of divorce. And Karen had never alleged that of any abuse during their whole marriage. And isn't that strange? Isn't that strange? You would think that if some type of harm is happening to your children, that you would do something about it right away. You wouldn't wait until the divorce filing. It says a lot. Common pattern. Silver bullet divorce. Common pattern. Now, I could go through this entire thing, but it would take hours, so I'm going to stick to the highlighted parts. In April 2020, a year before the divorce trial even began, the custody evaluator released a report exceeding 100 pages. The Guardian ad litem found the information about Karen, the ex-wife, to be so alarming, particularly her relentless efforts to denigrate the father to the children, that she requested an emergency hearing. That's how alarmed the custody evaluator was. So the court, citing Karen's established pattern of maligning the father to the children and other deeply disturbing conduct, the court transferred temporary sole legal and physical custody to the father and imposed a 90-day no contact order on Karen to allow time for repair of the father-child bonds she had sought to destroy. And this was intended to be a short-term measure to kind of shock the mom into compliance. And the decision further stated that the behavior of the defendant was nothing short of horrendous, and that she never even attempted to follow the court orders or work toward restoring her former parental role. The court went on to note that Riordan's egregious misconduct, quote, escalated dramatically, end quote, and included employing hired third parties, very common, to file allegations against Ambrose, the father, to the police and DCF. Each allegation was investigated, all found to be baseless. So she files allegations herself, found to be baseless. She enlists third parties, like a therapist or someone like that, to make allegations. Those too found to be baseless. Does she stop there? What do you guys think? Do you think she would stop there? These people don't stop. She kept going. That's right. She couldn't help herself, I guess. So she could not help herself, I guess. And, it also mentions that hoping to de-escalate the hostility, the father declined to criminally prosecute Karen for her repeated false reports. He could have criminally prosecuted his ex-wife, and this father chose not to. Says a lot. Says a lot about him. Shortly after the custodial transfer, the father discovered that Karen herself was secretly sending the children dozens of texts instructing them to falsely report that he was mistreating them and that they were in distress. She also directed the children to delete her messages to avoid detection. After the discovery of these texts, the guardian ad litem requested another emergency conference, and the court found that Karen had continued her interference with the plaintiff's relationship with the children, and the court determined that the following 90-day no contact period, that after that 90-day no contact period, the father would retain primary custody and Karen's visitation would be supervised until she just demonstrated an ability to refrain from coaching the children turn against their father. Now, you guys are probably thinking, or I was thinking at this point, how much longer is this going to go on? Like, certainly this needs to wrap it up, Don't they get the picture of who's the perpetrator here? You guys will not believe the outcome of this case, okay? And the sad part is that so many cases are similar to this. This is not an outlier. This is not an outlier at all. This is simply a father who had the courage and the financial means probably to actually do something about it. This is very common. I would just want to say that. This is very common. So the father was concerned. This says a lot about the father and his character, his moral character. The father was so concerned about the psychological impact of the children's sudden loss of their mother. He wanted them to be able to see Karen as soon as the 90-day no contact period ended. Says a lot. That after everything she had done to him up until this point, he is concerned about the psychological impact the loss of the mother will have on the children. To me, it sounds like the father in this case had the children's best interests at heart. And this is one of the many incidents that contradicts Swithin's false claims that the father tried to keep Karen away from the children. The truth is, he recognized the need for children to have both parents in their lives, if possible, and he kept that on the forefront of his mind. That's the reality. Karen actually was the one who rejected the supervised visitation. She continuously failed to follow the court order that would allow her to see and be with the children. She never even did the paperwork required for supervision. In effect, Karen unilaterally and voluntarily cut off lawful contact with the children after April 24th, 2020. How devastating for these kids. It's almost as if the mom, and this is my opinion here, it's almost as if the mom didn't win custody of the kids, didn't win against her ex. Like she saw it as a battle and she didn't win. So she just gave up everything, gave up even the ability to see her kids. The children, confused, distressed by her abrupt absence, exhibited trauma symptoms, including anxiety. I don't know how to say this without getting caught off. Compulsive eating and injuring themselves. All three children told their therapist and the guardian ad litem that their father had never mistreated them or disparaged their mother. To the contrary, he consistently reassured them of her love and reminded them she would see them once she complied with the court requirements. The therapist uniformly concluded that the children's emotional struggles were caused by their mother's abandonment, not by any conduct of their father. Of course, you're going to see in the article by Swithin that they are making the claims that the issues the kids were having at this point were because of the father's mistreatment, not because of the fact that their mom just abandoned them. So this is an example of how things can be twisted to fit a narrative if someone's trying to push a certain narrative. But if you actually read the facts, if you dive deep into the document, you will see that these children did not display these behaviors because of their father's treatment. They displayed these behaviors because their mom up and abandoned them. So during the no contact period, Karen maintained clandestine phone and text contact with the children, continuing to tell them falsely that their father was responsible for her absence. She further alleged without basis that their father had stolen her inheritance, bribed DCF professionals, therapists, and judges, and accused him of deviance, instructing the older children not to leave their younger brother alone with their father because he was supposedly a, quote, gay child molester like Michael Jackson, end quote. So here she is subtly trying to get the children to fear their father, implanting that idea in their head that they need to be protected against their father, that they are vulnerable, that they are possibly victims of their father. So in December 2020, Karen sought an ex parte emergency restraining order. again, falsely making accusations. She applied in a different jurisdiction under her maiden name to conceal her record of false reports. Hey, Karen's getting smarter. The court, unaware of her history, initially granted the TROs, leading Karen to remove the children from their schools midday. The father's attorney obtained an emergency hearing the next morning. Karen failed to appear, and the same court vacated the TROs upon learning of her deception. The police sent to her home found it vacant. It's like history repeating itself. She has a pattern here. Karen had taken the children to a hotel 25 miles away where she had met her private investigator, who, by the way, has a long record of violence, strangulation, other misconduct. And then NYPD he had been terminated from his job. Karen left the children alone with that guy who filmed the children giving rehearsed statements accusing their father of ABUSE. I don't want to say it too many times to get kicked off YouTube. So DCF later confirmed these coercive circumstances of these videos, and every court has barred their admission. Thank God for that. Thank God for that. Thank God for that. So after this guy, this PI who filmed the children, Karen took the kids to the Connecticut Children's Medical Center and had them repeat their coached accusations. She bypassed the closer hospital, Yale New Haven, where clinicians had previously documented her efforts to manipulate the children's accounts. So she's not dumb. Karen chose not to go to the closest hospital because, they already knew what's up. Karen's not to be trusted. Karen does all these covert things. Karen's trying to destroy Christopher here. Karen's getting smarter, but she will not stop. So, eventually, police find Karen with the kids. They ping her phone and they locate her. This is almost like a true crime. When they arrive, Karen initiated a 5-hour standoff with 2 police departments and DCF. While instructing her daughter, this is the part that gets me. During this 5-hour standoff with the police, Karen instructs her daughter to live stream the whole ordeal. Ultimately, police and DCF, both of who supported the father's sole custody, returned the children to him. Due to her escalating misconduct and repeated violation of court orders, the court transferred the case to a specialized division for high conflict custody cases. Not surprising. And the court found that Karen's conduct was just totally vexatious and manipulative. Quote, unfortunately, this case, almost from the start, has been one in which the defendant has refused to obey any and all orders from the court, end quote. Karen enlisted third parties to intimidate witnesses. Now, if you're wondering, where did Swithin go in all of this? Hang on, hang with me, because I promise you she's involved. And you want to hear when it circles back to Swithin. You got to get to the nitty gritty of the marriage and what Karen did in order to see just how vile Swithin's actions are, allegedly, in my opinion. So several of these witnesses that she enlisted to intimidate, several of these witnesses later stepped away from the case due to Karen's harassment. By contrast, no court has ever found, this is important, no court has ever found Christopher, the father, in violation of any order. He complied fully. And he has never been sanctioned or even reprimanded. So, now we're bringing Swithin back into this story. Let's take a water break. Let me know in the live chat your thoughts so far. The father's cease and desist letter to Tina Swithin included the Maukhauser decision. And the Maukhauser decision is basically that the father did not harm his children in any way, not in any way. And this statement, I mean, this conclusion has been reached already so many times. So he sends her a cease and desist because she keeps sharing this horrific information about him. It's destroying his reputation. It's destroying his mental health. It's destroying his relationship with his kids and probably much more. So he sends her a cease and desist, hoping she'll just let it go, take down the blog post, stop talking about him. And along with that, he includes the decision by the court that there is no harm, that all of these allegations are unfounded. Nevertheless, despite this knowledge, Tina refused to correct her false portrayal of the father as a child sexual predator. And the claim they're making is that her conduct there betrays her actual malice. Allegedly. While the divorce trial was ongoing remotely in Connecticut, Karen secretly relocated to Florida in 2021 to live with Frank Parlato. Now, Frank Parlato is a name that you need to remember. Frank Parlato, it's worth mentioning, was also under a 19-count federal indictment for conspiracy, fraud, money laundering, and tax evasion. Not great. Not great for Frank. The father did not learn of Karen's departure or her intimate relationship with Frank Parlato until early 2023. That's approximately like a year and a half, 2 years after their relationship began. On October 2nd, 2021, now this is a big deal, Frank Parlato, Karen's romantic partner, published the first of more than 300 defamatory articles attacking the father, Christopher, on Frank's website, frankreport.com, and other platforms controlled by him too. Karen publicly denied any relationship with Parlato. Following nearly a year of testimony and documentary evidence, the court issued its final decision, stating, quote, "One thing has been consistent throughout this long legal process. None of the allegations concerning the mistreatment of the three minor children have been substantiated." The court awarded the father with permanent sole legal and physical custody of the children. Karen was granted only supervised visitation, contingent upon a complete psychiatric evaluation and court supervised treatment aimed at eliminating the defendant's behaviors that have had a negative impact on the minor children and the relationship with the plaintiff. To be clear, prior to publishing her article, defendant Swithin knew of the decision. Despite this knowledge, Swithin falsely portrayed plaintiff, the father, as a child sexual predator, baselessly, asserting that he had corrupted the judicial system and committed other morally reprehensible acts. On July 10th, 2025 of this year, the father gave Swithin an opportunity to correct her falsehoods. I see this as like his last attempt. Tina Swithin refused. Are we surprised? I'm not surprised. Saying she removed the article but would not validate anything he said, and she, quote, considered the matter closed, end quote. So she did all the damage. She came in with a wrecking ball, and she won't clean up the mess. She won't clear up the error. Her refusal demonstrates reckless regard for the truth, actual malice, and an obsessive effort to destroy the father's reputation, his mental health, and his quality of life. Allegedly. Swithin ignored the court findings that Karen told the children horrific lies about their father and coached them to falsely accuse him. She also ignored the court's determinations that Karen used third parties to destroy
his relationship with the children, damage his reputation, and intimidate witnesses. Tina Swithin insinuated that the father had bribed or colluded with DCF law enforcement and the guardian ad litem, the custody evaluator, the reunification specialist, therapists, etc., in order to gain custody. These claims are wholly unsupported, defamatory, and misleading. Not only is she ignoring the court findings, but now she's making claims that the father had bribed or colluded with all of these agencies in order to get custody. This is starting to leave the realm of reality, right? It's starting to leave this earth. It's starting to leave reality. Tina insinuated that, I already read that. Okay, so Tina oh great, she did more stuff. Tina also disregarded the court's recognition that the father consistently attempted to co-parent collaboratively. Of course, because I'm not going to say that. Don't want to get in trouble. Instead, she falsely claimed that he prevented Karen from seeing the children. If you hear the facts and read this document as we are doing, you could not make that conclusion. The record shows the opposite. Karen did not see the children because she chose not to comply with the court-ordered psychiatric evaluation and treatment. On Mother's Day, 2021, the father facilitated a call between Karen and the children, supervised by the court-appointed reunification specialist. She never requested another call. The father later learned why. Karen was secretly messaging the children through apps in violation of court orders. When the father discovered this covert contact, he did not report it. Now, this is where I start to get a little bit frustrated with the dad, a little bit frustrated with the father. Yes, kids need both parents, and yes, kids deserve both parents. Kids also deserve protection from abuse. Okay. And sometimes it is hard to separate your desire for your children to have both parents. Kids love both parents. You don't want to hurt your kid by removing the other parent. And I see where he's coming from there, because he doesn't want to hurt his kids. And he thinks that by not reporting, I'm sure he thought, I'm reading in here to what he may have been thinking, but I suppose he might have been thinking that if I report this, it will hurt my children. I'm sure that's why he did not report it. Oh, there you go. It even says it. When plaintiff discovered this covert contact, he did not report it out of concern for the children's emotional well-being. He did not want to deprive them of their limited contact with their mother. This compassionate decision, however, had grave consequences for him. And for his children, I will add that, and for his children. And if this is just for anyone watching, if you're a parent and you have the opportunity to protect your children, protect your children. So during these communications that she was secretly messaging the children, Karen resumed her campaign of lies, of course, telling the children that their father was to blame for her absence, that he did not love them. That's something my mom also told me. And that their father only sought custody to, quote unquote, beat her, which sounds like projection because that seems to be how she's viewing it. Just my opinion, by the way. Allegedly. These were the same sort of lies that led to her loss of custody. Swithin also reported that the father refused to allow Karen's family to see the children, when, in fact, the father had made efforts to maintain the children's ties with her extended family. There's more evidence of that in the document, but I'm going to skip down to the end. Nevertheless, Swithin exacerbated the children's harm by publicly attacking anyone she perceived as adversarial to Karen, including the custody evaluator, the guardian ad litem, therapists, DCF workers, the reunification specialists, and judges. Her baseless accusations that the plaintiff conspired with these professionals undermined the children's trust in the very people assigned to protect them, and destroyed destroyed this father's reputation. The father has never published any information about Karen Swithin or anyone connected to the case. In January of 2023, Karen returned to Connecticut without informing the father and rented a residence near him. This is where it starts to get, in my opinion, like psychotic. Scary level. She immediately began violating the custody orders by secretly visiting the children and grooming them to turn against their father. The precise behavior that the custody orders were designed to prevent. In April of that year, exactly 1 year after the decision where it was found, he never mistreated the children, Karen persuaded the daughter to run away to her. And in the reports I've seen from Tina Swithin reporting on this, it was framed as daughter fleeing horrible, monstrous father, of course. So Karen immediately brought the child to file a petition for emancipation. Oh my gosh. And false allegations against the father in juvenile court. And sadly enough, it mentions too that this daughter had always been the most susceptible to her mother's control, and she would lie at her direction. So it's really sad. The children, just want to remind everybody, the children are the biggest victims here. Using third parties, Karen took unlawful custody of the two sons, sounds like parental kidnapping, and arranged for false ABUSC petitions to be filed. Karen and her partner, Parlato, the one who did the horrific articles, published sealed petitions, an egregious breach of privacy. And this actually exposed the children's peers, coaches, and teachers to false allegations that were made against the father. And you know how it goes if you've been through this, or maybe you haven't even been through this, but you've seen someone go through this. False allegations are commonly believed. People think, well, it's so horrific. Like, they don't question that someone would make up something so horrific. So when these false allegations came out to their friends and family, can you imagine how damaging that was to the father, even though they had been unfounded for years? Horrible. This is what they essentially put him on a trial by social media. That's what they did. They put him on a trial by social media. And a lot of these parents in these cases tied to Tina Swithin have been put on similar trials by social media. And nobody has presented the other side. That's why I'm so pleased to be here tonight with you. Thank you for being here, because we are putting Tina Swithin on trial by social media, effectively, allegedly. Thank you. So once she had the children, Karen replaced their phones, as she had done years earlier, leaving the father unable to locate the kids or contact them. DCF interviewed the kids at school as well as their therapists and counselors. And both Child Protective Services and law enforcement found the allegations against the father, once again, to be baseless. He starts to represent himself in court, but then he eventually finds a new counsel who filed for restraining orders on behalf of the children. Good. Citing Karen's blatant contempt of custody orders and her pattern of coercive control. At the 2-day hearing, both Karen and the father testified, as did DCF, who reported that Karen, the accuser, was hostile and uncooperative, while the father, the accused, was cooperative. Funny how that tends to happen. a little thing called Darvo, turning the the victim and the abuser upside down. That's what they do. After extensive interviews with multiple parties, including the children, DCF concluded that Karen exerted corrosive control over the children's thoughts, emotions, and actions, consistent with recognized forms of DV. How ironic, okay? Let's just take a minute to recognize how ironic that is. Because, Tina Swithin and her whole business, One Mom's Battle, claims to be staunch advocates for victims of DV. Staunch advocates. And Tina Swithin stood behind Karen from the beginning to the end. I mean, over the top. Endorsed everything that she said. Promoted her. Shared pictures and details about the kids. While the court actually found that Karen exerted coercive control over the children, consistent with recognized forms of DV. The court granted the restraining orders. There is a God prohibiting Karen from contacting the children. Okay? Now, how did Tina Swithin characterize this on social media? You might be wondering. Well, maybe you're not wondering. Maybe you can guess. Leave a couple guesses in the live chat. How do you think Tina Swithin characterized this situation? Because this is how the court characterizes it. No. If you said this, you were right. Swithin falsely claimed that the children had independently fled to Karen's father in Rhode Island, when testimony actually established that their grandfather had removed himself from their lives since 2020 and had not contacted them, not even on special occasions. Evidence showed that Karen arranged for her quote-unquote associates to take the children to her dad in Rhode Island, who was not made aware of Karen's actions before police arrived to serve the restraining orders. So how many times has she parentally kidnapped these children? I think we're at 3 times. But let me know if I'm wrong. I think it's 3. So eventually, they find the kids, and each time the father obtained the necessary jurisdictional court orders to recover the children, Karen and her associates relocated them, sometimes in the middle of the night. Can you imagine the trauma these children have endured, the confusion? After 3.5 months living like refugees, being moved on a moment's notice, missing school, friends, therapy, medication, and stability, the children were finally returned to the plaintiff, the father, Christopher Ambrose, having missed the first third of the school year. Swithin deliberately amplified Karen's falsehoods online, misleading the public and the plaintiff's children, who were too young to access court or police records, into believing her defamatory narrative. That's right. I want to repeat that because they knew the children were too young to access the court records or the police records. So the children, of course, are going to believe what they're seeing online. To magnify the harm, in her article attacking the father, Tina Swithin promoted and endorsed other defamatory articles written by Frank Parlato, Karen's boyfriend or, romantic involvement. Disgusting. Swithin also knowingly identified the Ambrose children by name as alleged victims of sexual abuse. She refuses to admit that these allegations are false. She refuses. The truth is right there. The facts are laid out, and she refuses to accept it. She refuses to backpedal and say, I got this wrong. Outright refuses. What are her motivations for this? I don't know. Some women believe all women. Some women hate men. I don't know if it's that. Let me know in the chat what you think. I don't know why someone would do this. But she continues to allege that the children are victims of their father. An egregious violation of privacy, by the way. Swithin was aware that multiple courts had found that Karen manipulated and coached the children to make false allegations. Nevertheless, Swithin exploited these coerced statements to cast their father in a false light and further her defamatory campaign. Does that sound like someone who stands for child's rights? Swithin interviewed one of the children, though she knew the children were too young to consent to such exploitation. And that Karen, stripped of legal custody and under sanction, had no legal authority to consent on their behalf. That makes me really angry. I need to calm down. I'm going to take a break real quick and look at the messages in the chats because I haven't been looking. I've just been reading. Unacceptable. It is. I agree. Unacceptable. Diabolical. Another great word. Diabolical, right? Yeah. And when this is your parent, because I have a parent like this, when this is your parent, you really can't even, like, you can't understand, like, you can't comprehend. If it's your partner, your ex-partner, it's still hard to comprehend. When it's your parent, though, oh my gosh. I'm just going to play some comments because I'm appreciating you guys being here. Again, please like the video. I've gotten some downvotes because a lot of people out there, Tina Swithin et al., are going to absolutely hate that I'm doing this video, and they're going to try to make it impossible to get in the algorithm. I already struggle with that, and that's why I haven't grown faster. Yeah. I'm seeing the comments. I'm reading the comments. It's just, yes, what a nightmare. Poor kids. What a freaking nightmare. I want you guys to know that you're not alone. I want you to see these comments and know that you're not alone. And thank God this dad had enough funds and enough courage and enough grit to go through all of this and then still to willingly file a lawsuit, to go back into court. And he represents, God, probably hundreds of parents. And let's not mention other professionals too, whose reputations have been completely destroyed by Tina Swithin. This defamation case, this is just one defamation case, just one. Okay. Yeah. I'm seeing your comments. You guys are right there with me. Thank you for being here. Please like the video. Please share the video. This is so important. You wouldn't believe how many people like look up to Tina Swithin and One Mom's Battle. And yeah, we're going to talk about the GoFundMe. Don't worry, I'm getting into all of it. We're just almost done. We're almost done going through the document, and then we're going to get into what this means and the GoFundMe that Tina Swithin has set up. Yes, so let's get back into it, shall we? It's almost done, guys, I promise. So she interviewed one of the kids. Disgusting. Karen's portrayal of the father as an abuser was not only false and malicious, but deliberately sensational, intended to shock, titillate, and drive traffic to her website. Swithin further advocated that children should testify in court, a position unanimously rejected by mental health professionals as harmful. By contrast, the father actually refused to call his children as witnesses in order to spare them from further trauma. I think their characters speak so loudly by just reading through the court document. Therapists consistently reported that articles like Swithin's reinforced Karen's lies, leaving the children confused, destabilized, and traumatized. If you're listening, Tina Swithin, hear that loud and clear. Your articles left these children, these innocent children, confused, destabilized, traumatized. This is just one family. That's the effect you have probably allegedly had on hundreds, if not thousands, of families. Swithin's defamatory campaign has had a devastating effect on the father's relationship with his children, an injury even more grievous than reputational harm. Her false narrative also functioned as a vehicle to promote her French conspiracy theory that wealthy fathers bribe Connecticut family courts to steal custody from so-called protective mothers. Okay, so possible motive there. Almost done, guys. Most egregiously, this should be good because all of this has been extremely egregious to me. Most egregiously, Swithin published the cruel sentiments that she, Karen, and her associates coaxed from the children after they were unlawfully taken in violation of the court orders, though she knew every professional involved concluded that Karen exercised coercive control and relentlessly coached the children to falsely accuse their father. She knew that every professional had concluded the father did not harm his children, and yet she published the cruel sentiments. She enforced the allegations as true by publishing these coerced statements by the children. By publishing these coerced sentiments, Swithin knowingly exploited the children's trauma. What a Looney Tune. Karma. Karma always gets you. Karma, guys. Karma. Karma always gets you, right? Karma. Looney Tune. Looney Tune. I'm not going to use any explicit expletives on this episode. But she knowingly exploited the children's trauma. Thank you. I'm so glad it's in writing in a court document because I've been saying this for years. Thank you, Christopher Ambrose. It's now in writing legally in a court document, and she's being held accountable for perhaps the first time in her freaking life. So she knowingly exploited the children's trauma to maximize the father's suffering and to drive traffic to her website while willfully ignoring the additional harm inflicted on the children themselves. I hope these children grow up, and I hope they read this document. So the next part is the legal standards and the application of the law. And I'm not going to go through this, but I will note a few things. They mention here Swithin is no novice in publishing. She runs paid courses online, operates a paid support group, and has authored 4 books on divorce. In particular, she has a book called Divorcing a Narcissist. Awkward. She appears in podcasts, mainstream publications, and other media to advance her views and gain publicity. In these roles, she holds herself out as an authority and cannot claim ignorance of the duties that accompany publishing to the public. She's been doing this for a long time. I like that they included that because she can't claim that she was oblivious to the effect that this would have on his reputation, his mental health, his relationship with his kids, etc. She can't. As part of her campaign, Swithin deliberately linked to and promoted the articles by Frank Parlato, Karen's lover, and another guy, both discredited sources, knowing that their allegations had been rejected by police, DCF, and courts. These links were not neutral references. They were carefully curated, prominently featured, and used to bolster her own defamatory narrative. Her conduct was intentional and, as they claim here, malicious. She published falsehoods about the father to audiences already inclined towards conspiracy theories, motivated by hostility, and loyal to Karen's vendetta and a desire for publicity and financial gain. She further encouraged her readers to disregard official findings that exonerated the father. Her knowing disregard of the evidence is the very type of deliberate avoidance of the truth that constitutes actual malice. So I guess right now I will end the part where I'm including the actual document. So I have a few other things I want to share here. And it's an excerpt from the article that Swithin promoted on our page that was written by Karen's lover. So it's about the children running away from the father's home. This is a direct quote from the article by Parlato, which is entitled "The Escape Continues. Teens Run, Seek Fourth Sanctuary from Ambrose's Grip." Published September 2023. Quote, "They've just made their 4th run from home to another home to escape their relentless father's grasp. Their father, Christopher Ambrose, a former TV screenwriter whose career was tainted by accusations of plagiarism." I don't know anything about that. "Won sole custody following a bitter divorce. Their mother, Karen Riordan, was a special education teacher who sacrificed her career to become a full-time mother. The tides turned when Ambrose seized control of their finances and filed for divorce, leaving Riordan financially incapacitated." Which is odd because if you have been here this whole episode, you might remember hearing at the beginning that the father filed for divorce. He filed for joint custody and split the finances. So this doesn't make sense. Over the course of a 3-year divorce and custody dispute, the article states, Ambrose, the father, transferred his case between 3 different judges. This strategy, sometimes referred to as forum shopping, ensured that Ambrose was never held accountable for or had to return funds he allegedly took from his wife. So I want to give you some exact dates and facts here. So August 2023, Swithin links this article from Parlato, which continues on to make heinous accusations and just craziness, claiming that, this is very sick, but in this article, Swithin, Parlato, they make the claim, allegedly, that Ambrose's child, the father's child, recently reported the father had, I can't even say it, It's a type of sexual abuse involving the anal region. Yeah, that's the level of false allegations we're dealing with here. That's the level of depravity we're dealing with here. And of course, that got him pretty much, executed in social media, in his social life, I'm sure, even probably with family and friends, of course, with his own children. Readers responded in the comments of that article, he's a monster, he's a psychopath. Because, of course, people in comment sections are always rational and fact-driven, are going to fact-check everything that's written. No, never, no. And then we have, just 1 month later, another article written, Women's Coalition article, claiming that eventually the kids disclosed abuse by their father. Except, the court found that the mother had coached them. Small detail missing. And you might be able to imagine the impact of these articles: public ridicule, threats, emotional distress. Basically, the internet turned into a mob carrying pitchforks, and they were out for one man, and his name was Christopher Ambrose. As someone who grew up manipulated against one parent, let me just say, having your family drama blasted across blogs, social media, that doesn't just damage the parent. It cements the manipulation in the minds of the kids. It further drives that wedge between the parent-child relationship. Imagine being 12 years old and scrolling through TikTok and seeing your dad being called a psychopath in the comments. Yeah, that sticks with you. You tend to believe it, especially if you have hordes of people commenting the same things. You have a big social media influencer, Tina Swithin, One Mom's Battle. I don't know how many followers she has, but I believe it's over 100,000, 200,000 on different platforms. When you see that posted by somebody who you might regard as a big figure to look up to, it's like you're sealing the deal there. You're cutting off the relationship for good. You're sealing in that alienation, that manipulation, that abuse. So, of course, the important details never made their way across social media. Perhaps never until now, actually. Leave a thumbs up, guys. At least we're getting the other side out there tonight. Maybe not for every case, but we're starting strong. And furthermore, upon receiving the original cease and desist letter, you got to remember, Tina Swithin threatened to again interview his minor daughter. I want to reiterate that point. A 50-something-year-old woman with no degree, no credentials, and nothing stopping her, threatened to interview Ambrose's underage daughter, a girl experiencing severe trauma and psychological torment. Interviewing minor children, however, is unfortunately not new to Tina Swithin. In fact, she has done this dozens of times. I think it's a pastime of hers. I think it's one of her favorite hobbies. And I'll let you know, guys, why this bothers me so much, okay? I was one of these children. I believed horrible, horrible accusations, similar to the ones that these children believed, which caused me to fear and hate my dad without true justification. Again, thank God Tina Swithin's social media wasn't around back then, because I too could have been easily exploited by this woman. And these quote unquote interviews of underage alienated children, these are not true interviews at all. Let's make that clear. They are recorded performances, recitations of Swithin's false narratives that she wants to push. In fact, actually, Swithin has been known to give these children scripts to literally read. She films them. She's been known to help them set up live streams while barricading themselves in their own homes with their alienating parent, refusing to go on the other parent's custody time, helping them do that. Or she has the kids film themselves and then distributes the videos across all of her social media accounts, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, for likes, attention, and yes, also financial gain. This should enrage you. I hope this enrages you. I hope it does. It should enrage anyone with a pulse. This enrages me. This gets me more than anything else on the internet. This pisses me off to no end. So bad. So bad. And these videos of these underage children who are believing lies and they're so manipulated. Minors. They're bad-mouthing their parents. And that's so damaging, not only for their parent, but also for these kids. It's damaging for their self-esteem. It's damaging for their mental health. And not only is it damaging, it's potentially dangerous, okay? These videos lack lawful parental consent. These videos encourage children to make false claims. And most importantly, these videos put kids in potential danger. Because Tina Swithin and the alienating parents that are connected to her, allegedly, they seem to have no concern for privacy or the risks of putting your children's names, addresses, contact information, photos online in such a public manner. But as you saw in the intro of this live stream, sabotaging families and intruding in custody cases, well, that is kind of Tina's MO. That's nothing new. It's one of her other hobbies. It's her pattern of behavior. And I can only imagine how the media and the news outlets' involvement effectively endorsing the negative beliefs that the alienating parent has made the children believe would further lock in the alienation, solidify the alienation. So to wrap it up on the court case, and then I'm going to get into the GoFundMe with Tina, so bear with me because you're going to want to read about that. It's laughable, really. The lawsuit is making claims of false light, invasion of privacy, which is when somebody makes you look bad by telling a misleading story about you. Public disclosure of private facts, when somebody blasts out your personal private business that was never meant to be public. Defamation per se and general. Flat out false statements that damage your reputation. In this case, all the accusations of abuse and criminal conduct. Fourth is intentional infliction of emotional distress. And that's when somebody does something so extreme and outrageous, it's basically designed to mess with you emotionally and mentally. An example of that would be spreading horrific lies online, knowing it will devastate you and your kids. Fifth is harassment or injunct relief. That's persistent online attacks with malicious intent. So harassment is persistent, targeted attacks meant to intimidate or wear you down. And injunctive relief is defined as asking the court for a stop order to make the harassment end. The father is also seeking multiple remedies. So that's the immediate removal of all false statements and hyperlinks. The public retractions and apologies prominently displayed. I believe he wants it displayed on One Mom's Battle's website. Third is oh my gosh. Sometimes when I talk too much, I get mixed up. Compensatory and punitive damages exceeding $1 million. Go dad. And fourth is injunctions to prevent further harassment. I think this guy was pushed to his limit, and I'm so glad he's doing this. He's not only going to expose Tina Swithin, but he I think is going to expose a lot more here. So what's the bigger picture? False narratives online can ruin private citizens, not celebrities, not politicians, just regular people trying to live their lives without being publicly attacked, publicly smeared on Facebook. But Tina is not exactly crying into her coffee. You might wonder, like, what's up with her? How's she handling this? What is she doing? Is she freaking out? Is she trying to double down on the claims? Nope. You won't believe this, you guys. She launched a GoFundMe. Because when in doubt, monetize your own lawsuit. And we're going to go through the GoFundMe now. Let's do it. I have a screenshot. And we're going to go through it. Oops, sorry. Wrong one. Help me stand up against $1 million lawsuit. Oh my God. Guys, what do you think about this? Like $1 million lawsuit. In 2009, yeah, the sob story. This reminds me of my parent. It's an endless victim. Darvo. So in 2009, I found myself in a battle I never expected. Family court. Since then, my mission has been to shine a light on abuse and the failures of the system meant to protect children. After reading this whole document, how do you guys feel listening to this? It's almost laughable to me. It's so absurd. 2 years ago, she says, I published a blog about a high-profile case in Connecticut. I interviewed a young woman, now an adult, who shared her truth. She told me that she and her brothers had been abused by their father. This is a case that has been covered by other media outlets. The father in this case has now filed a $1 million lawsuit against me. It is my humble opinion, so humble, that this lawsuit has no merit. What do you guys think? Please let me know. I really want to know what you think in the chat. Does this lawsuit have merit? What do you think? Let me know. And that it's not about justice, Tina says, but about silencing me and punishing me for shining the spotlight on their case. She thinks she's being punished and silenced. Yes, it is completely bonkers. She says, because I am in a current health crisis. I should have brought the tissues. I usually am a very empathetic person, I will say. Not with her. Not anymore. Just playing up the victim narrative. Because I'm in a current health crisis and didn't have the energy to devote to this, I offered to remove the blog, and I did. I also offered to write an updated blog on the case, and I gave him a chance to make a statement. He refused. Keep in mind, this is just her version of the account. I don't know if this is true or not. Tina says, no matter how confident I am that this case will not stand, I still need to defend myself. That means legal fees I simply cannot afford on my own. Reality check. This humble advocate has book sales, a YouTube channel, a TikTok, a Facebook income, and a really big divorce coaching empire. Oh, and she also lives in a $1 million home. But sure, tell us more and more about how broke you are, Tina. This is where I need your help, she says. Every donation will go directly toward building the legal defense required to fight back. If there are any funds left over after my legal expenses are paid, they will be donated to the Family Violence Appellate Project, a nonprofit located in California. Your support is not just for me, it is for every advocate and every survivor who risks speaking out. Wow. Knowing the backlash they may face. She's painting herself here as a victim who spoke out against this case and now is being silenced. Is that what you guys think this was? Is that what I just read to you? Is that your takeaway? Because I'm not really offering my opinions here. I pretty much read through the court case. Allegedly. So she's going to donate any extra donations. But I would like you guys to know that I looked on this donation page and she posted this GoFundMe, I think a week or two ago. Did not receive any donations, guys. No donations. Not only that, but I heard earlier today, this GoFundMe was shut down. I'm going to try not to smile. Yes, this GoFundMe was shut down, guys. It was shut down. It was shut down. And we need to be on the lookout for if she posts another one. Yes, it did. You know, I was scared to post my first couple of videos of 2 years ago about Tina Swithin. I was, because no one else was doing it. No one else was doing it. And I know other folks who have received cease and desist from her. I'm expecting one after this video. Allegedly, all this is alleged again. Okay, guys? If you've seen another side of me tonight that is different than usual, that is because I am so angry. I am so beyond angry at what has been going on with these kids. Not these specific kids in this case, not limited to these specific kids in this case, but all the kids that Tina has allegedly exploited. You would not believe, or maybe you would, how many parents I have talked to who have been exploited by Tina Swithin. And they come to me. They come to me. They come to me because nobody else is talking about it. Are people scared of her? Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Doesn't she coach others to represent themselves? Isn't she the expert? Yeah, maybe she realized like, hey, I got this, and she doesn't need the money for a GoFundMe because she's the expert. Jeez. So, I find it ironic. The end of that GoFundMe statement, though, your support is not just for me, it's for every advocate and every survivor who risks speaking out. So she supports every advocate and every survivor who risks speaking out. Then she should support me. She should like this video then. Because she says despite or knowing the backlash they might face. So I do find it ironic. However, Tina claims to be on the survivor side. I suppose she might be on the survivor side if you're a woman, going through DV, not a woman going through psychological abuse like parental alienation, not a woman if you've been a child survivor of parental alienation. You might be on the survivor side if you're a woman who falls in line and who agrees with everything Tina says and does. That's when you're on Tina's survivor's side. I think this lawsuit shows us the real cost of malicious online behavior. Emotional devastation, reputational ruin, relationships with your children and your family members damaged beyond belief, and legal battles that drag on for years. But it also shows you something else, and this is the point that I hope everyone watching really, really hangs on to. It shows us that people are fighting back. And if you've been harassed online, if you've been falsely accused, if you've been to hell and back in a high conflict divorce case, if your parents were in a high conflict divorce case or a divorce that greatly affected you, know this: you're not alone. And there are ways to push back. I know from personally speaking with dozens of parents now that Christopher Ambrose, if you watch this video, you are not alone. You are not the only parent who has been affected by the malicious meddling and sabotaging from Tina Swithin. Far from it. You are among many. You are simply the first, as far as I can tell, brave enough with the resources to serve her with such a lawsuit. But you're not the only one. I have not even spoken to this guy, Christopher Ambrose. I don't even know what he looks like. I haven't talked to him at all. But I am proud of him. And I feel so sorry for him and anyone going through this. But you're not alone. He's not alone. He's one of hundreds, if not thousands, whose kids have been unjustifiably taken with the help of a social media influencer. One mom's battle. As for Tina, let's just say that her hobby of meddling in families' personal lives may not look so cute under the lens of a federal court lighting. And if you've ever been a target of online harassment, or if you've ever wanted to, tell the truth about what actually happened, fight against those false allegations, please consider hitting the like button of this video and sharing your story in the comments. It will really help boost it in the algorithm. I really want people to know about this. Not only because of Tina Swithin and One Mom's Battle, not only because of the kids that are being harmed, but because cases like this happen every single day. They are so common. And it's about time that society starts to wake up to it. The internet, the bottom line, I believe, is that the internet can be used to connect us or to destroy us. And if your hobby is ruining families, well, maybe it's a high time to find a new hobby, something maybe less destructive, like pottery, jogging, knitting, literally anything else. So the law can step in, guys, as this case shows, and sometimes it has to. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you being here with me. And again, if this resonated, please like and share it, because the truth only wins when we speak louder than the lies. I appreciate your support, and I'll see you next time. Bye.